It's deja vu all over again. Cubs come back, beat the Sox 7-6 to sweep. Brooms in the background. I'm solo today. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olber. Please support the show by following on your preferred audio platform, and you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are lifelong fans taking our passion into a discussion with you. It's a double on all things Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Welcome in, everybody. Got the broom out. I'm solo. I got the chat up a little bit, so if something's up, if you can't hear me or something, please let me know. Also on audio, of course, but a lot to get to. This is going to be a pretty fun show. We had a wild ball game on Wednesday night, and I think there's two ways to look at this. There's two ways to look at this series. Hey, should it be this hard for the Cubs to beat the White Sox, or is a win a win and you just take it as it comes? And with the way things have gone for the Cubs here lately, I tend to lean towards the latter. The Sox played the Brewers pretty tough. They came in here on an 11-game losing streak. They were desperate for a win. It's a rivalry game for them. You knew they were going to get their best shot, and they found a way to win 2 games. It doesn't have to be the most pretty thing in the world, but they got the job done. There's a lot to talk about today, I think, with Tauchman, Mike Tauchman, who on yesterday's show, yours truly, Sam Olber, born early November 1993, said, yeah, it's probably time for him to transition back into that fourth outfielder role. He's an overqualified fourth outfielder role for that role, but they need to let PCA, Suzuki, Happ, Bellinger duke out the outfield spots and the DH spot. Mike Tauchman said, somebody else is going to sit. I don't know who, and I don't care who, but I deserve to play every day against righties on this baseball team. And so, got to give credit to him. We're going to talk about the outfield situation, but let's break down this baseball game. So it started at about 7:05 Central Time. I had the Sox broadcast on my TV because I was still doing some work on my laptop, and I missed the first pitch homer. They were still a commercial. So it started out, I hadn't even watched a minute of the game yet, and the Cubs were down 1-0. It panned right to the ball, exiting the bleachers. Cubs manufactured a run nicely to tie it. Then the rails fell off for Tauchman with the help of some bad defense from Seiya Suzuki and right. Not egregiously bad, but a play that probably should have been made in right field. And Tauchman, who actually, if the Cubs lost this game, that was going to be the second segment. We were going to talk about him because he's basically been the opposite of Morel this year. He's pitched to some good results, but he really hasn't pitched that well. He's been fortunate, and he's trending in a poor direction, and he was not good tonight. Cubs got down 5-1. Manufactured a run with a Bellinger ground out with the bases loaded, then got a gift on a balk, made it 5-3. And then later in the game, in the seventh inning, it just became crazy. Kind of reminded me of a game on the South Side last year. Hit by pitch, walks, balks, wild pitches, and then a big hit by Ian Happ, a broken bat hit to give the Cubs the lead. Hayden Wesneski promptly gave it up on the first pitch of the following inning in the top of the 8th. But then Mike Tauchman in the bottom of the 9th, first pitch, I think, of the at-bat. First pitch walk-off homer for the Cubs. No, I think it was 1-0 maybe. I think it was 1-0. I don't think it was the first pitch. Hit a walk-off home run, and the Cubs win 7-6. So, like I said, what do you do with a win like this? I say you just bank it. You put it in the back pocket, and you take it, and you run with it. Maybe it builds a winning streak. We're going to talk about the Red Series later on. I thought there were a couple really nice signs to point out tonight. One of them being Dansby Swanson. I thought he had a really strong game at the plate. Couple of hits, drew a hit by pitch, and then he got a 3-0 green light, which I thought was curious, but he still hit the ball pretty hard today. And that's a good sign because Dansby is a noticeably streaky hitter. So maybe he's trending in the right direction. Tauchman, obviously the big story. Wasn't really a great offensive showing, even though the Cubs scored 7 runs. A lot of it was gift runs. I think they were out hit 13-8 in this game. Morel's starting to look better. I thought it was a really, really rough night for Suzuki at the plate. Once again, runners on the corners, no outs, just frozen on 2 pitches right down the middle. But Bush floated in a base hit. Christopher Morel did leave this game early because he fouled a ball off his toe for what seems like the 5th time all season. So hopefully he's just fine and he comes out of this unscathed. But, I think for the Cubs right now, it's just one of those situations where they gotta find a way to put it all together. And maybe tonight was a step towards that. Tonight, if the Cubs didn't get it done, the story would have been, okay, the starting pitching is starting to regress a little bit and the defense still isn't good. I thought there was a play Morel probably could have made in the 2nd inning. He cut a ball off that probably shouldn't have been cut off. Suzuki had a weak throw home. They're just not doing the little things defensively. And then, of course, in the late innings, Wisniewski gives up another home run. I think that's 4 homers that he's given up maybe in his last 6-7 outings. But they found a way to win the game. And that's kind of that's the step forward. The process wasn't exactly great. There aren't tons of major positive takeaways from this game outside the fact that the Cubs came in here. They needed to find a way to get 2 wins against the White Sox. They did, and they found a way to win the baseball game. I thought the biggest at-bat of the game outside of the walk-off home run was also from Mike Tauchman there in the 7th inning, a 10-pitch AB that turned into a walk and a wild pitch. And that was really big. Hector Neris came in the 9th inning. It's like, he's getting results. I mean, his ERA, believe it or not, Hector Neris' ERA, let me look this up real quick. I think coming into the game, it was at a 2.86. It's probably down to about a 2.79, something like that. Yeah, Hector Neris' ERA now is a 2.74. Can you believe that? With the way he's pitched, if I told you his ERA right now is a 2.74, he's another guy that, probably is pitching a little bit better pitching a little bit worse than the results suggest, but he got the job done. I thought off the bat, that ball by Colas was headed into right field, and he had a walk of Andrew Vaughn. So it wasn't a great outing from him. Smiley came in there, did a nice job. 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. The game could have got away from the Cubs. He struck out Colas. I thought that was a big moment. And in reality, the Cubs just found a way to win. And this is now their first winning streak of 2 games since I want to say early May, which is just unfathomable when you actually think about it. And the question now becomes, what can you do with this win? You had a dramatic comeback win on Tuesday, and you followed it up with maybe a more dramatic comeback win on Wednesday with a walk-off home run. Can you carry that over into Cincinnati? Because coming up next, and we'll talk about it, you got 4 in Cincy, 3 against Tampa, 3 against the Cards, 3 against the Mets, 3 against the Giants at home. The schedule, we've talked about it ad nauseum. The schedule is opening up for you to have a really good June, but is this team playing good enough baseball? Seiya Suzuki has to get back to hitting the baseball. Cody Bellinger has to get back to driving the ball. Right now, he's just it's dinks and dunks. It's a little RBIs. We need him to drive the ball. Hopefully, Morel's injury is not serious. He's back in the lineup tomorrow because he's showing signs. Hap's been pretty good lately, really good lately. Dansby Swanson showed a little bit of a step forward today. Obviously, the Yan Gomes ABs, just real quick before we head into this outfield situation that I want to talk about. The Yan Gomes ABs, look, last season, Yan Gomes was a real treat and a real surprise for the Cubs. There's no question about it. It looks like it's about that time for Yan. And when I say that, I mean about to hang it up and retire. And he's got money owed to him, and he doesn't have to do that, and that's fine. The at-bats, and I know he walked. The at-bat that he walked on, he was thrown 8 straight balls. He swung at a bunch of them. I don't think he swung at a strike the whole night. Also on that steal late in the game, I think a good throw gets him. Amaya has hit like a backup catcher. And Yan Gomes was supposed to be the starter. And I just think the Cubs sooner than later got to do something about that. And they got to do something. And I'm gonna parlay this into the next segment, but they got to figure out what to do with Suzuki in right field. I understand the Morel situation at third because who do you play there? Is Morel bad enough defensively at third where you play Wisdom there or you play Bodie there and it impacts your offense? We'll have to see. So far you can make the case that's true and Morel goes to DH and then somebody else loses a spot. But in right field, if you're going to play, like let's say today, you had Suzuki in right and then you had Tauchman DHing, PCA was out. Just play Tauchman in right then and DH Suzuki. I understand you can't DH him every day, but 3-4 out of 5 games, keep his glove out of there. It's not some sort of funk. He's really struggled here. I mean, I don't have to go back to September in Atlanta. I don't have to go back to the steal start against Pittsburgh where he dropped the ball. I don't have to go back to the throw against St. Louis. I don't have to go back just on Saturday night when he dropped the routine fly ball. It's basic things that are happening, and I think they could be cleaned up. Just get him in DH, but regularly. But we're going to talk about the outfield situation here because it's really, really crowded now. You'd like to get PCA at bats. That's what he's up for. Tauchman just showed you today. He ain't ready to sit. Suzuki's supposed to be the most talented hitter on this team. Bellinger and Happ aren't sitting. So what do you do with the outfield situation? We're going to talk about that coming up next. But first, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and then watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season has been underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry. I'll tell you this, Ian Happ, Cincinnati, I'm taking more hits, more homers, more extra base hits, more everything with Ian in Cincinnati. Prize Picks is really simple to play with your entries taking less than 60 seconds to submit, turning $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps of your screen. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 by using code LOCKDOWNMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. The Cubs play the Cincinnati Reds Thursday at 6:10 p.m. Central Time, and you could hear every pitch of the Cubs' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching the Cubs on the SXM app. We are back here on Locked On Cubs. I see you guys on the chat. It's hard for me to manage the chat and do the show solo, but I see if I can get to some things at the end, I will. What I'd like to get to is this outfield situation, because let's break it down, right? So on a good day, seems like the Cubs want to play PCA in center field, Ian Happ in left field. They want Suzuki to play. They want Bellinger to play. And now they have to deal with Tauchman. So what do you do? What do you do? I think the easy thing that's probably going to end up happening is, after a game like this, I mean, it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. I'm just kind of generalizing it. Who gets the majority of the at-bats? So I think PCA is going to mostly play center field against righties. Ian Happ's going to mostly play left against righties. I think now, after a day like today, maybe Mike Tauchman plays right. Bellinger moves over to first base, and Seiya Suzuki's your DH. And it feels like Michael Busch is probably your odd man out. That doesn't mean he's not going to play. It just means he's going to be the odd man out. I think what the Cubs should do, and I've said this to Matt off the air a few times, as we have 453 people with us live after the Chicago Cubs sweep the Chicago White Sox, who have lost 13 games in a row for the first time in 1924. Believe it or not, I had a lot of Sox fan friends of mine texting me, man, I can't believe how bad the Cubs are. Man, I can't believe you have to watch this team. Hey, why don't you take care of your own business? Your team's the biggest laughingstock in the history of this city. And just because they're that bad doesn't mean you could just remove yourself from them. Diehard fans are diehard fans. Own it. You'd be bragging if they were 15 over, so own it. They're a laughingstock, and they're your team. All right, get back to business right here. I think the easiest thing to do is to just Suzuki DH, Bellinger first, Tauchman right, PCA center, Happ left. Then you chime in, you get Bush some at bats. But I don't think Seiya Suzuki has to play every single day. Now, I'm not advocating that he's a part-time player, but I've always believed, I've told this to Matt off the air, it just seems like Seiya gets himself in funks out of nowhere. So my suggestion would be, against really tough righties with good stuff, maybe Suzuki finds the bench a little bit more. Now, you can't sit him probably against Hunter Green because he just hit a grand slam off of him 5 days ago. But, I think that's probably the move if Morel's healthy, where Suzuki DHs, but, maybe once a week he sits, maybe once every 7-8 days. Give him a little bit of time, sometimes a mental break. I mean, everyone always makes a huge deal of Suzuki getting benched last year and it changed his season. He missed 2 games. That was it. It was just a 2-game mental break for him and came back and was one of the best hitters in baseball. So my suggestion is, on a normal day, Suzuki probably DHs, Tauchman right, PCA center, Happ left, Bellinger first. But when you want to get Bush in there, when you like that matchup, you probably want maybe Suzuki takes a little breather. Tauchman can take a breather. Obviously, the downside of that is Michael Bush is still young, and you want to see as much of Michael Bush as you can so you can make a decision with this year and beyond. Maybe, and I think this is pushing it too far because Michael Bush has not been this bad. But, AAA for Michael Bush could be, something if you feel like he's not going to get enough at bats. The thing with Bush that I see right now offensively that just concerns me is even when he has success, it just feels like a lot of predetermined swings. It feels like he's predetermined swinging at first pitches. I see some things in the chat that I actually do want to mention because I saw this a lot on the comments. A lot of, why can't Michael Bush play third? He was listed as a third baseman. Look, we said it before the year. I heard from a lot of people around the league. He's not a major league third baseman. And with the struggles that Morel has had there, if he even had a chance to be a competent third baseman, you don't think that he would have given that, they would have given that a try? Obviously, he can't play third at the big league level, or they would have already tried it by now. So, I think with Bush, even the overall numbers, if you told me the overall numbers before the season, I would take it right now with Bush. I really would. But it's the way he's getting it. It still feels a little guessy to me. And so I think right now you're just in a critical stretch. So that's kind of what I would do with the outfield situation. It's a really challenging thing. It stinks that none of these guys can just play a good third base and then everything would be solved. Couple other notes from this game, and then we'll get into the red stuff. Nico Hoerner was ejected tonight on a pitch that probably would have been a ball to the late great Bill Russell if he was in the box. It was way up. It was also way away. It was a short fuse from the umpire. Could somebody in the chat tell me, was it Vic Carapazza that was the umpire tonight? He did a brutal job, a brutal umpiring job from him for both teams, and it was ridiculous that Hoerner got tossed. But hopefully he'll come back. Nico's a better player than he's shown. I think his numbers now, I think his batting average has slipped under 250. Let me fact check that because this is a professional show. We're not supposed to just shout out things. No, he's at 255. He's at 255, 342, 356. I need a better slash line out of Nico Hoerner. The only thing that's there right now is the OBP. I need a better slash line from him, steal some bases, get going. If he can get hot, he's an engine for this team. He's a clutch hitter from this team. But, really proud of this team, though, for grinding these wins. And again, to everybody out there, hey, these were 2 bad teams. I hope the Cubs, aren't happy about this. Well, number one, it's better than losing. We're coming off a 10-18 May, and you got to get these wins. Streaks start somewhere, and they were important. The Sox gave the Brewers trouble this weekend as well, and the Brewers won all three. Nobody was complaining, and then the Brewers went into Philly and got their butts kicked and got swept. So, we will we'll see what happens. The challenge for Jed Hoyer at the trade deadline right now is the Cubs obviously have some holes offensively and with their bullpen and all these things, but they're actually a little bit harder than you think to fill because, let's say you trade for a really good third baseman. Let's say they do that. Let's say they trade for a really good third baseman, and that pushes Morel to DH. Well, now one of Bellinger, Suzuki, Tauchman, PCA, and Happ aren't going to be able to play. And that might be fine. If they do make a big trade, you'd probably think one of those guys will have to be in it because even though the Cubs are a mediocre team right now, 31-31, that is the epitome of average and mediocrity. They have a lot of money invested in a lot of these guys, and they're not going anywhere. A lot of them have no trade. So it's not as easy as you think to just weave a trade in. Guys are going to have to play. PCA is up here to play. If he's not going to play, they're going to send him back down. So I'd like to say those are good problems to have because those are all good players, but they need to produce like good players, and hopefully they're trending in a good direction. Speaking of trending in a good direction, the Cincinnati Reds are red hot. They've won 9 out of 12. They swept the Dodgers, took 2 out of 3 in Wrigley, swept the Rockies in Chorus, and that's where the Cubs head for 4 this weekend. And we are going to talk about that coming up next. First, this episode is brought to you by Game Time, one of my favorite apps. I used it again Saturday evening at Wrigley Field. Last-minute tickets, got a bleacher ticket, no problem. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down. This is true the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is extremely simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms do apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH for $20 off only through June 14th. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We are back here on Locked On Cubs. Going to try and get to a couple questions at the end here. The Cubs go into Great American Ballpark this weekend for a 4-game series. The Cubs are a very disappointing 7-12 versus the NL Central this year. They started out beautifully, 4-2 with a home series win against the Brewers and a nice series win in Pittsburgh. Since then, they lost 3 out of 4 to Pittsburgh, back-to-back in St. Louis, 3 out of 4 to Milwaukee, and then 2 out of 3 at home to the Cincinnati Reds. As I said last segment, the Reds are red hot. This is right about the time the Reds got hot last year after sweeping the Cubs at Wrigley Memorial Day weekend, and the Cubs are going to have to deal with that. Great American Ballpark, one of the best hitters ballparks in the league, outside of maybe Chorus. It probably is number 1. Jamer Candelario's been heating up a little bit for the Reds. He was a former Cub, of course. Ellie De La Cruz hit a homer the other day, and he's a guy you want to keep off the bases because of the steals, and the Cubs can't throw out anybody. And Spencer Steer has really been their main guy. He hit a go-ahead homer with 2 outs today against the Rockies to give them a win. Really important series for the Cubs. Pitching matchups, we don't know exactly what it's going to be. I think for the Reds, it's Green, Lodolo, Abbott, and Montas. And then for the Cubs, it'll be some combination of Assad, Steele, Brown, and Imanaga, you would think. Cubs will face 2 lefties this weekend. They have been dreadful against lefty pitching lately. Dreadful. I think in the last 35 2/3 innings, they've faced lefty starters. They have 3 earned runs. If you remember, they got dominated by Chris Sale. They got dominated by Bailey Falter. They got dominated by Robert Gosser. Nick Lodolo was good. Max Fried threw a complete game as a lefty. It has been a really, really challenging stretch for the Cubs against lefties right now. And so they're going to really have to be on their A game and see if they can correct that. Typically, when you go into a series like this, road divisional series, you come out with a split, you feel good. But I'd like to see the Cubs do some damage here. They go to Tampa after that. Then they have a 9-game homestand against St. Louis, the Mets, the Giants. I really think if the Cubs could go in this weekend and flex their muscles a bit, maybe win 3, which I know is asking a ton, that could really spark a hot streak. I don't feel super, super confident about this. Cincinnati's playing better baseball than the Cubs right now by a lot, but wins like this could jumpstart things. So we'll have to see. If you want to leave a quick question or a comment, I'll try and get to 2 or 3 of them before we head out for the evening. Matt will be back Thursday. We'll break down that Reds Thursday game. I haven't looked at the forecast. Let me get a quick forecast. There's usually rain in Cincinnati. Let's see. Oh no, we got clear skies. All right. That's good. Clear skies, nice weather in Cincy. We don't have to sit through a rain delay. Christian says, what happened to Ian Happ in the leadoff spot? Yeah, I just think Happ was really struggling, and Tauchman was doing a really good job. And Tauchman and Happ have such similar profiles that once Tauchman started to roll, it just made sense to put him there when he's rolling. Thoughts on Porter Hodge so far? Think he goes back down or he can stay? A little erratic with the command, but with this bullpen, he should definitely stay. I think with Neris now being used back-to-back days, a lot of pitches, I think that you may see like Luke Little on Thursday. If the Cubs have a 2-run lead in the 9th and Mark Leiter Jr. has already been used, you may see Luke Little go for his save opportunity. The bullpen stuff, I do think we probably, Matt and I both probably need to talk a little bit more about just how rough it is without Almonte and Merriweather. I mean, Wisniewski is thrusted into this role that he's probably not, accustomed to. And, I think Tyson Miller was a really nice pickup. I've really liked him so far versus righties, but the Cubs they have so many specialists, right? This guy's good against righties. This guy's good against lefties. This guy's reverse split. This guy, is a one-pitch guy. I just wish they had a couple more just kind of dudes out of the pen. They really don't have like one real dude. It's probably Neris. Merriweather's one of those guys. Almonte was turning into one of those guys. So, it's still not at all something I'm very confident in late in games with this bullpen, but the offense has been so bad. The defense has been so bad that's kind of been the main focus. And now that the offense is starting to turn it around a little bit, maybe the focus will go back to the bullpen. Hopefully the Cubs can get some good starts, some competitive starts in Cincinnati. The starting pitching has regressed. Tyone struggling. We talked about Imanaga. Assad was okay last time out against Cincinnati. So hopefully he could give him a chance and the Cubs bats can just, absolutely explode this weekend in Great American Ballpark. I think Ben Brown will have a bounce back start. I'm excited to watch him go, and we will see what happens. But it was awesome win today, awesome win yesterday, back-to-back wins. Finally, I got the broom out for a 2-game sweep. Why not? I couldn't even, my broom, I usually don't even use my broom for cleaning. I only use it for sweeps for the Cubs, but it's been used a lot more lately around the house than it has. It's been since the last time we swept somebody was Houston, back whenever that was. So it's good to have that out, and let's build on this, guys. We need to build on this and start stacking wins together, because at the end of the day, when you're an average to, maybe slightly above average team, it's all about minimizing bad stretches, maximizing good ones. And we need to get on a heater here pretty soon. And June is designed for that. So hopefully we can get it going. Thanks so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs, a walk-off edition, a Mike Tauchman walk-off home run edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Sam Olber, and this is Locked On Cubs. Take care, everybody.